本当？見えないでしょ？どこにいるのかな？見えないよ。
What's good, Internet? It is Friday, August 13th, and you are listening to Waypoint Radio, episode 418. I'm your host, Austin Walker, joined today by Rob Zach.
Good morning.
And Ricardo Contreras.
Hello.
It's hot. It's hot today.
Oh.
Tomorrow's supposed to be a nightmare.
Summer's
I'm not,
back with a vengeance.
Summer is back, baby. Stay hydrated. Stay cool. Stay shaded. Stay hydrated.
This is a fun first test for, I put in a ceiling fan a few weeks ago.
Right.
Because, my apartment's always had really strong temperature gradients, basically, where the front of my apartment by the front door leads into the sort of the giant atrium in my building, just gets scorchingly hot. And then it gets cool by the HVAC unit. So put in a ceiling fan in the foyer in the theory that I just needed to get some air circulating in the far part of the apartment to move things around. So far the theory is working. It's been hot as hell, and the AC has actually not been running constantly.
Okay.
Wow.
And
is it a situation where you run the AC to lower the temp and then you fan for a few hours, or it just keeps that air moving and cool? Or do you not even need to turn it on? Okay.
Nice. Well, so it's it's on a thermostat.
Right.
So basically it is, gotcha. but the thing is, in the past, on really hot days, it would just start running and running and running and running, instead of lose the race.
Right.
But the two things I'm doing are I keep the blackout curtains down, and I've got the ceiling fan going, and for several hours a day, the AC is not actually running. It's just running the fan, and I got the ceiling fan. I'm like, my God, I might have actually hacked making my apartment habitable in the summer without going bankrupt on electricity.
I was going to say $100 off your electricity bill a month.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Awesome. That's the best.
Yeah, weather stripping and ceiling fans, man. It turns out the shit.
It turns out. Well, that's good. I'm happy for you. Genuinely. That sounds like I'm lying. I'm not lying. I'm genuinely happy for you. I'm supposed to go into the city today on the 13th. Which is it's gonna be fun to go see a friend, but it's gonna be one of those things where it's we both made that agreement knowing that we were going to boil alive every step of the way.
Yeah.
So
yeah, Subway's just gotta be hell, right?
Subways aren't great. Well, you can get an air conditioned unit and those can be fine, but the more people that are in them, the worse it is. And then also you just sometimes just don't get one. You get one without without AC, and you're like, all right, here I am now.
You're done.
It's just broken. Exactly.
Also,
it's a 20-minute ride.
Platforms are always bad.
Yeah, the platforms are always bad. No matter what, no matter if it's hot or not.
Yeah,
they're very rarely comfortable any time of the year. They're either
the
too
dead of winter,
or,
they're okay. Maybe.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. God, when it rains, I don't even mean floods. I know people saw that footage of the flooded station, but I just mean the way that the rain can cause a subway station to just become the most humid thing in the world.
Oh.
Where it feels like you're swimming even if you're not literally swimming.
Yeah.
Anyway, we should talk about we should talk about something nice, and I looked at this list of games, and it's Demons on Mars, just nuclear disasters, a library where people get turned into books. We got all sorts of shit today.
The fact that Hell Let Loose is bad now.
Hell Let Loose isn't bad now, Rob. We had a couple bad games. I can't project. We had some games that were frustrating because because we had the sleepiest commander I've ever had in my life. Where it was just a guy. I love his voice. It's a fantastic voice. Just not a fantastic voice for getting a bunch of people to do something, and not a fantastic voice to have talking in your ear like this while you're trying to push onto a point and get the rest of your squad to do something on your behalf. And he's talking like this, and he's saying, "Oh, maybe we put down an airhead over in G7. Maybe we put down a bombing run. I'm going to do a recon plan, and I'm going to keep talking the whole time." And it's like I love this for you. I love that you have this particular voice. It rules in every
Like a
other context but this one.
Late night NPR hosts.
Yeah, well, it's
vibe,
like, well, the thing is, it's British. He was a British guy, and I can't do a good low British accent. I can barely do any other and so it was like deeply sonorous and like. This is nice. Oh, wait, that's incoming artillery fire. Fuck. Why did no one... Or just like he would just drop a bombing run out of nowhere on our position and be like, cool. Like, I didn't hear you. And he's like, well, I said it, 10 seconds ago. I was like, well, one, that's not enough time. And two, you're down here and talking about things like you're talking about your garden. Like you're giving me a tour of your herb garden. So that was not great. And we ran into the other thing, Rob, which is just like, I don't know if it's an influx of players or if it's the players that are there just not caring as much, but like a lot of people are just doing their own thing.
It was a weird thing where, so after British guy sort of had a game go, the thing is I had more sympathy with him because we stayed on the same team. Yeah. And so I was like, I'll take command here and like, it'll be a different vibe. But then like the only people on comms were like one recon squad that's a scout and a sniper who are doing what they're supposed to be doing. They're calling stuff out and being like, hey, look out for this, watch this. And then there were two tank commanders who had no crews.
Yeah.
And they were complaining constantly about like infantry is not supporting us. And it's like, you can't drive a tank. You can't do what you're doing. And then you just had like an increasingly testy group of infantry commanders who were like, most of whom were never on comms anyway.
Right.
The sheer
Except
number of times
complain
I'll be like,
once every 10 minutes or whatever.
Yeah, where it's like, hey, is that point looking okay? Are you going to stay on that point? How's it going back there? Like, God. I basically knew we were fucked when the second time we lost our first defensive point, not the midpoint, but the first defensive point, and it was because the squads defending it had just left and not to attack. They had just moved deeper into the recesses of the map for reasons I couldn't fathom. And I was like, hey, what's going on? It was like there was a
different command call going on that we weren't part of. Do you know what I mean? It was like,
dude, that was the weird thing. Yes.
It felt like there was another team deciding what to do.
I never heard Commander comms be that quiet in a game.
Well, and do you remember the bit where you were like, so how's it going back at, I think that was at LeGrand Creek, right? Yeah. Like, how are things looking at Creek? And the one like team there was like, oh, it's looking pretty good. And you're like, is it? Because it looks like you're getting capped. And he's like, well, they came up behind us and they have a couple garrisons around. And we just lost our outpost. And you're like, that does not sound like it's going pretty good. Why didn't you call any of that up?
Yeah. But the other weird thing too is it did seem like one of those games where it was kind of crap all the way down. And I think we were against a much more buttoned up team.
Yes.
Because there was a point where we had shaken out roughly into a line.
Yeah.
And I was like, you could have a push basically envelop the point that's being held, but nothing happened. I was watching squads just like advance, and then they stopped advancing. And I was like, what's your plan here? And the plan was kind of nothing. And no, we won't talk about it.
We had a moment that was like the most heartbreaking, like long shot Hail Mary play, but also like felt again ripped from some World War II movie, which was there were three. We had the best we ever got was 3 points out under control. I want to say maybe we only had 2 and then almost grabbed that third. I think we got the third for like a split second once. But there was a point at which we had pushed. We were holding the second spot, okay. And we were pushing into the third one. You have to take these spots in this mode that we're talking about. You have to take them in a linear fashion. They're all up for grabs. We have to kind of march across the map, take a point, then often march across the map again because they're vertically different across the map or horizontally depending on orientation, and then take a different one. And so you have teams back defending, which which is his own whole can of worms in this episode or in this game. This episode, geez. And then we had teams attacking. And in this moment, my team was attacking along with one other squad. And we did it. Like we pushed through the defenses there. They pulled out of the defenses there to go on the attack and left this thing behind effectively. We had like this incredible exchange of gunfire with people who were like holed up in a barn. We found their 2 garrisons. We stormed the house that was at the center of this stronghold point that we needed to take. And as that was happening, we were losing our second defensive point. And what you can't do in this game is leapfrog. You can't hold point 1 and point 3. You have to hold point 1, 2, and 3. And so we did this thing where it's like, all right, we're going to leave our 2 squads here in behind enemy lines. Because of the way the game works, if you lose point 2, you cannot put down a spawn point. A regular officer can't put down a spawn point past that point deep into enemy territory because you don't have that kind of like supply line or whatever the abstraction is that's happening. You can't just like spawn people deep in enemy territory. And so we were just like making a bet. It was like, we can't respawn here, but we can try to hold this space for as long as the second that they get back point 2, we can redeploy all of our people here and instantly run it over because we have it. It's like these 8 guys have just taken this space successfully. It's incredible. But we can't respawn there, which means bit by bit, this 8-person group was whittled down by like 1 or 2 people crossing through. And it's like, well, we're holding out as best as we can. We're just waiting for the call from home that it's okay to set up this new outpost here. And it never came. And we had to then immediately go on the back foot. And it was, like I said, it was a big gamble because those 2 squads could have gone back immediately and reinforced somewhere else instead. And we could have done a whole new push. But it was like one of those things where it was like, well, we have 2 armor units back there. We have 4 other squads on defense, right? Certainly they can win that fight. And it's just like, it never came together.
The other weird thing about it too is I kept being like, are we badly outnumbered? And we were somewhat outnumbered. Like, they had like a 4-person advantage. Basically they had an extra squad on us.
Right.
But I could not shake the sense that like we felt so outnumbered. Like, because like I had no idea where squads were. One, they weren't cohering at all. So like you'd hover over people to highlight their squads, and you'd see that a 5-person squad was spread across like 4 grid squares. And you're like, that's not a squad. That's just 4 people who are soloing different weapons. But yeah, it was the weirdest thing. Like during that sequence, Austin, I was like, I don't know why we can't do this retake. There's no pressure on the point we need to be defending now. We seem to have, like, I count 3 squads that are doing something, the 2 you were with, 1 that was on defense, and I guess our 2 shitty armor units that were like lone dudes in tanks.
Right.
Complaining about not getting enough help from infantry. And then I was like, so where are the other 4 or 5 infantry squads we're supposed to have? Like, where are they? Because they were all still logged in, but I was like, it feels like they're not even on the map. It was the weirdest thing. Yeah, I was heated at the end of it, and this was I kind of wrote a piece about this this week on the site where it's like, this game I think has made a really daring bet, which is that it's only good when people are playing the game, the tactics game in harmony with the shooter. Like, they're not really separable, because as a shooter, this thing isn't really in that like Battlefield tier of like, oh man, so many satisfying guns to fuck around with. And like, also it's not set up to function with teamwork as loose as Battlefield. Right. Battlefield creates a lot of ways for people to sort of effortlessly, while they are doing what they already want to be doing, to contribute to team objectives. And that makes it feel like more of a team game, even when people are not necessarily playing it that way. The other game I'd use as a point of comparison is like the Red Orchestra games were all World War II nerd, simulator games in some ways, where it's like, check the range on your rifle sights, carefully deploy your machine gun. Everything takes time. The guns were so good and satisfying and fussy that, like, if it was a bad game, you could still have fun messing around with like the historically accurate like recreations of these guns. That was still awesome. How Let Loose's gunplay is fine. It's not anything like the rifles. I don't think are particularly distinguished. Nothing feels like, there are very few weapons I'm like, this feels awesome. I love to use this, but it really does come together when like it's all in the service of the squad tactics game that's playing out. If that game doesn't come together, you're playing a not great shooter. And you're probably chain dying a lot because the team that is working together is just going to be set up on you every time you move.
Exactly. Totally. Well, the thing is, I think you and I both left that very frustrated. And then, like, I'd play more of that game right now. Like, if you want to stop this podcast and go play some, I'm down. Let's go.
Dude, the entire, like, I was, if MK hadn't, like, gone to bed, like, downstairs, I would have been like, I'm gonna fire that back up and get back on comms. I need to wipe that one off the books.
Yeah, exactly. Just need a good one. After
the West Coast crew's logging on. Austin,
that's the thing. I mean, this is the thing: is that there's a group I've been playing with on and off, and they're all West Coast people. And some of the time they were ready to play, you and I had wrapped up that game, and it was like, well, I kind of have to start winding down. I got to do shit in the morning. It's late, but I don't know. What if I just didn't do that? What if instead I'd stayed up and been in command mode for another hour? Or I mean, that was the other thing, is that match that we had was exhausting because we logged into a match that ended basically immediately. Then we had a second match with that same commander, the Sleepy Talk one, and that was like we ended up pushing really well up to a point, and then we just couldn't capture that cemetery point. And that just like went, and we just like that was like okay. And then we had the next match, the match that you were commanding, was such a slog because we didn't get blown out. We were able to hold it and take it and hold it and push back. It went the full 90. Yeah, exactly. Like, I wish we had just like rolled over at 45 or 60, but it always felt within grasp. At least in the final like 20 minutes, you know?
If I had it to do over again, I think I would have like just said on comms, like, hey, I don't care if we lose this quickly. Like, I would rather lose this than like keep doing this.
Then stay on this thing. We have to make a play.
But the thing is, it was a call to no one. Like, two squads would have replied no matter what I did. Two squads would have replied, except for the people calling for like new tanks and like supply drops. Also, nobody built nodes. So
that
like,
was the biggest thing.
Yes. All these needy fucking squads who were like, well, why is the commander doing this? And it's like, literally, I've never seen this few resources in a game of Hell Let Loose. Like, I have never seen my entire like action bar be grayed out because there's no resources.
It was the most like no one wants to play cleric thing I've ever seen. You know what I mean? It was just like, well, we need someone to do the work of and like normally you find someone who's into it, right? Like there have been times when I've been like, I've been back at base, like hopped into a truck, or I've been, somewhere hopped into a truck and then realized after like, oh, this is a person who just plays the supply truck. It just drives back and forth, setting up munitions nodes and manpower nodes and resource nodes. And like, that's the game for them. And they have a good time doing it, or like they make sure that that's good. And they've like taken that in the same way that if you watched us play last time, I was like very excited to be a medic and like crawl around and heal people. There are people who are like that for the engineering side of this game. And I think we're always better for them. Shout outs to the people who want to do that because we need them.
I do think maybe it is the one major issue I see with this game was I do feel some of the support classes do not have enough to do. Like, I think one of the smart things the Battlefield has done is like, I don't know what the current structure is, but I do remember like in Battlefield 3, I think it was, they were like, hey, medics are going to be machine gunners. They're going to hang back and they're going to run around and res people, but they're also going to, their toolkit is going to be support fire. Right. And I think they got away from that. I think they moved them to a different like paradigm, but they've always found ways for like, hey, you're going to be a support class, but here's a lot of fun stuff for you to do. Hell Let Loose makes some weird decisions. Like if you're a medic, you're always at crisis ammo. Yeah. To the point where it's like, okay, so healing people's really hard. I can't really help my squad in a gunfight where we're going to be running into trouble. And to make that class work, you're going to need somebody there to be a supply guy dropping shit at your feet. So as medic, you can restock. But that's not also going to be fun for them because they're going to be like, I'm just kind of playing a crappy rifleman without my full kit. I would rather have the full kit. So I think there's weird things like I think engineer. I'm not sure like what is fun about engineer after you've done your building shit.
I think you just redeploy as a different class once you've done that, right? I think that's the way that they imagine it.
I think that's the problem.
Yeah, and people aren't doing that. Or, I mean, the other thing here is Medic has something that Engineer doesn't have, which is lots of extrinsic validation in the form of people singing to you and saying, medic, I need help. And you being like, don't worry, buddy, I got you.
You're a hero, Doc.
Yeah, exactly. And that's fun. No one is doing that for the engineers and supply folks out there. When Cado spawns on this as a supply person and like drops 50 supplies at our feet, we're like, all right, cool. I guess respawn now because like you're not like come back as anti-tank, you're worth something. You know what I mean? There is no like you don't get that fun validation from those other classes, and maybe that's a thing we just have to institute. We have to start singing songs to our engineers, our great heroes on the battlefield. But until that happens, it's kind of just like I don't want to fucking play engineer. You know,
and it feels like it's a design choice because there are different classes than can fit in a single squad, right? Like,
yes.
There are you can only put 6 people in, but there are like 8, 10 almost. I don't know the exact number of different types of people that you kind of need all of them spread across the entire, like, so like you either expect one squad to be like, we're just the supply squad and we're gonna run around and do this.
That's exactly right.
Do this for everyone,
and have that be like
what actually happens,
squad.
Right? Or what actually happens is just like everyone, like the people will swap in as needed, drop the thing, and then swap back to something else, right?
And it does create this thing where like, so as commander, after a point, I'm not going to continually just tell people their jobs in the game, like they're having their own game. I'm not going to, you know what I mean? Like you're the commander role, but these squads are people and they're not chess pieces. So I can't just keep yelling like, Abel, get on dog 7. What are you doing? Like that shit's annoying. I don't like playing. When I'm a squad leader, I'm like, shut the fuck up. Like I know my business. But it does get it creates this friction, like as a squad commander, for instance, where it's like, I want people to like play what they want to play and like have a good time. Yeah. But to do a lot of the things that are necessary in this game, you got to be like, hey, I need 2 people to stop what they're doing in a redeploy queue and play these 2 support classes and kind of not do anything for a few minutes. I kind of need you to go find a supply truck, drive it to an empty field somewhere, hope you don't get sniped, and then build some shit for a few minutes. And then you can come back and play the game. And I think that level of friction creates a lot of potential for like teams to break down, because people are going to be like, hey, I'm in the middle of the fight. Like my team needs me to be an assault submachine gunner, or they need me to be a rifleman or a machine gunner laying down supporting fire. And it's tough to step away from that because the larger team, the entire side, actually doesn't need another gun in that fight. It needs 2 people with like welding torches and a box of tools to be building resource nodes.
We just got to be these people. We just got to, the next time we play, we got to go in and like lock a squad with 3 of us. We have an officer, an engineer, and a supply person, or whatever the trio is, to start building stuff. Go around, set up those nodes for 30 minutes, and then switch over.
I feel like people, I'm kind of this person in general in games where there's classes. I tend to play a support type class. I'm never like in Valorant, I don't play duelists. I play the controllers, the people dropping smoke and like setting up traps and avenues of attack. And I feel like just coming to this game on its own, I would probably be the person doing that engineer run and like enjoying it because I'm contributing, but I don't have to worry about my gunplay as much, which is fine. I can do it, but it's not necessary for me to feel like it's contributing. But I feel like the type of people that, play healer in an MMO or like play support in that sort of role might not just be attracted to this game from the outset, like from the like what the theming is, what the whole aspect is. It looks like it's gonna be a shooter where you have to be good at shooting, when in fact, if more of those type of people that were interested in just being support played the game, they'd find their niche, right? But it's kind of like a the way the game presents itself on its face might not immediately attract that sort of person.
Well, and I would also say that, like, a lot of games go to great pains to make those support classes make it really easy and frictionless to provide support to your teammates. Like Team Fortress 2 with the medic gun is the clearest example where you just hold that thing down and it just mashes health at its target. And people were like, wow, this shows how you can make playing medic fun. And it's true, it did. It changed like team shooter design. This ain't that. Like if you're a medic, if somebody is dead in the field, it is because that field is observed. And anyone who moves out in that field is probably going to get shot. Like, if you see 3 bodies in the field, you know for sure that if you go out there, you're
describing the reason why I like playing medic here and don't like playing medic in Team Fortress.
Yeah.
Which is that is compelling, interesting, challenging gameplay to me. Not that playing a healer in Team Fortress is not. It's just not the thing doing the thing that I like, which is about there's positioning stuff in TF2, obviously. But the thing of like, okay, there's a body in a field. It's my commander's body in the field, or not my commander, but my squad leader, which means that's the person who can recreate the outpost that we spawn at. They're important to keep up here in the front line. Can I throw smokes well? Can I ask my teammates to lay down covering fire? Can I find a route through this tall grass to get there?
Yep.
Before the squad leader decides, fuck it, I'll just respawn and try to run back. And like making that happen is so. Like, I like that gameplay a lot. It does do the thing of trading the gunplay combat that medic is not good at because they don't have the ammo for it for something else that does feel rewarding. Being a medic, and like that's the other thing, it's like being a medic as part of a big push where you just start seeing bodies going down. This is a game where you hold F to heal people, but that sense of like 4 people just went down because a tank shell hit nearby. They didn't die, or maybe a sweep of gunfire hit 4 people. They're down but not out. You feel like you're trying to stop the bleeding. That is the moment where you're like, all right, I'm doing the trauma center thing. I'm still only holding down F, but I have to do it, over, in the right order of people. I have to do it from a position where it's safe.
Right.
I just got to like make it all come back together. And if I do that right, this push isn't over yet. We can keep the pressure up and eventually they'll break. And that feeling is so, so good. And I think this is the friction with this entire game is that you end up having a design that demands that players engage with it in that way, both to have fun, but also for it to function. That like if you're just playing the medic who is like, I'm just going to heal you, buddy. I'm just going to stick with my buddy and like, or just my squad and only heal my own squad mates, which I'll see sometimes. It's like, well, what do you do? Like, you can hit F to heal anybody. Please, during this push, stop sticking.
Good soldiers are dying in that field.
Yeah, get out there. And you need someone to make that decision. And I think that it then extends to the engineer and supply stuff. But like seriously, I will play a game with y'all where we just open up by being like, let's set up nodes. Let's just
that was a great show. I think we nailed it. Let's go. Let's squat up.
Yeah, exactly. That's where I'm at. But we should talk about other stuff. Talk to me. Where do we want to go? Which hell do we want to go to next? Demon Mars hell? I'm guessing it's Mars or Chernobyl hell. Let's talk about the new game. Let's talk about Jupiter hell.
Yeah,
Cado.
Mars hell.
You've been playing some Jupiter hell. Mars hell.
Yeah.
Is it Mars? I'm just guessing it's Mars because
I think
it's Doom.
No,
it's a Doom roguelike.
I mean, I would assume it's actually a moon of Jupiter, right?
Oh, the word Jupiter is in the name of the game.
They don't say specifically.
This is just like how Rob and I didn't notice that there's a character in the latest Clone Wars episode just named Halliburton, a thing that I'm still tight over.
Oh
my god!
Yeah, he sucks. Don't worry.
Oh, good.
She's cool. She's way cooler than Dick Cheney.
She's way cooler than Dick Cheney. She does have. Someone else pointed out that she has like the same facial structure and scowl as Cheney, which is definitely again.
She's got like that Art Deco hood ornament like face that Cheney had back then.
Yep. Jupiter hell. Tell me about it, Cado.
So this is a roguelike, which is part of why I was really interested in it, because I like, every like couple months or so we'll pull up a browser version of Rogue and just like do a few. Like I really enjoy like the original Rogue, and I don't know, that sort of like turn by turn, step by step combat of those.
Oh, do you mean a roguelike?
No, but you know what? Come on, like people don't.
No. I am saying I am being. This is the rarest moment. You know who I am.
Right.
You know I don't like to gatekeep. You know I'm not, but I have it in my blood. I have to resist it.
Yeah.
In other words,
right.
with other shit, I'm like, sure. It's a EXE that shows, flowers, and you click on the flowers and they turn into poems. That's a video game. What are you fucking talking about? Of course it's a video game. But roguelike in my brain is so, I push it down. I'm trying my hardest not to do it. But when I think about the roguelike experiences that I love, it's the thing you're talking about, which is tile by tile, like no forward progression between runs.
No, none at all.
Etc.
So yeah, and I guess the big thing about this one is the setting and kind of combat. A lot of roguelikes tend to focus more on melee like ranges. There are like obviously even in the original Rogue there's like arrows and stuff, but like you're not really using that most of the time. That's like a kind of, oh shit, I ran out of things, or I don't want to get too close to that thing, but let's try. But I'm gonna end up getting too close anyways because it's gonna run at me. But this one is completely focused on gunplay, and there's a cover system as well where like if you're on a corner, essentially you're in cover, the enemy can also take cover. There's a lot of, interesting mechanics around taking aim. Like you can wait a beat, which is a classic roguelike thing, but you can only wait a beat when you're in combat in this game. And what it does is it gives you extra defense. You like hunker down and your aim goes up. So if you take 2 turns to like aim up, basically, you're gonna get like a big bonus to your hit. Like I've really enjoyed it so far. There's even just from, I think the deepest I got was 6 levels down, and there's already kind of a really just like varied amount of guns with different really like, what's the word I'm looking for? Understand, like easily grokkable, and also like interesting like differences in their ranges and like all the things you need to make guns interesting when you have like, a pistol. Like there's like different types of pistols, but like one of them is like here's the thing I was getting at. The like ways they differentiate guns with like reloading mechanics, for example. Certain guns are like, clip or magazine based or whatever the actual term is. I never know which one is which. And some of them, like you have a 6-shooter that takes a full turn. You hit the reload button and you get 1 bullet back, right? You have to sit there and hit it 6 times. And for each of those times that you hit it, the enemies are moving around you and getting closer or attacking again. And that really interesting. They've gotten that. That's a great
sense
of tension, right? Yeah,
yeah.
Of
totally. And that's the sort of thing that you're doing in a first person. So we should like just to slow down a little bit. Top down perspective, or like lightly isometric perspective. Polygonal looking game, graphics. 3D, graphics. But like an overlay that has like a very CRT display.
Yes,
I mean
it's even warped.
Screen,
yes,
it is even
warped at the edges.
Yeah, which I kind of wish I could turn off. I get it, and I'm not. It's not working for me as well as I would like it to. But then, it's turn based, which is to say, you move, then all the enemies move. You move, then all the enemies move. Classic roguelike in that way. It targets enemies for you. You can switch between what thing you're targeting. As Cado said, you can move behind cover, and cover in this instance is like a corner, like a wall that that you can kind of peer around, or a chest high, a chest, for instance, will provide cover for you, which reduces the chance that enemies can shoot you, successfully. I'm just thinking of other like fundamental basic shit. You can carry 3 weapons. You choose a class, and the classes all have passive and active abilities. It's that sort of game, and like you're trying to get to an elevator at the end of every level to go down and continue your exploration, right? There's loot, and most of the loot is samey. It's like, okay, every yellow pistol is the same, but then there's higher levels of weapons that have had modifications done, or you can modify your weapons eventually, stuff like that. Am I forgetting any other? I think that's the main stuff. And so like the idea that like I'm going to use this pistol that requires you to reload one shot at a time and be like, well, this gun does incredible damage. This revolver does incredible damage, but it's a nightmare in combat because I need to like hide behind cover and reload or run away around a corner and reload. Really does hit the like, yeah, this is what an FPS can feel like sometimes.
Right.
Or it also does a thing of like, well, how do I deal with this? Well, maybe I want a modified one that reloads faster. I'll start taking the quick reload skill when I level up, the perk that lets you reload faster, which then means that you can start using those slow reload weapons more successfully. It's neat.
It is. It is really neat, and they even integrate more this kind of the like just the ranged attack, the ranged combat, and the kind of FPS feel through things like while you're moving, if you moved previously, you get like a dodge stat added to you because it's like you're running across, right? You're harder to hit because you're moving. There's a certain there's a perk you can unlock where you can like run and gun, and that means shooting. You can shooting an automatic weapon doesn't take that dodge away or something. I forget exactly what the thing of it is. Like you can like, but it's essentially meant to be like, oh, you're not stopping to take
running
the shot.
and gunning.
Yeah, you are running and gunning, which is really fun that they've gotten all of these things into this turn-based mode, and like it feels cool. It feels neat to be able to think through like, okay, I'm running. Do I keep running? Do I stop and swap to my more accurate pistol and take a longer shot? Like, how many turns is it going to take for them to get to me? Am I near a barrel, an explosive barrel? Are they near an explosive barrel?
Are they near one? Yeah.
It's
all those choices are really fun. The fact that it's also, if you look up footage of this game, you might find people playing it like a fucking at a first person shooter pace. I keep finding videos of people who must have been playing it through early access.
Yeah.
But they're just like holding the buttons down.
No.
They're just like literally running around.
Ow.
And it's like, how are you doing this? So know that if you see sessions like that, that's not how most people play this game, or at least that's not how you need to play this game. You could probably play this game because it's turn-based.
In its tutorial, it is very explicit, like in saying,
yes,
it's turn-based, take your time, like there's no rush, just like, really plan out your moves. And that part is really fun. Like, it hits all of those same itches that when I like pop open a new Rogue game randomly in my in a browser window, it's hitting all of that plus like, but it has enough newness to it that I'm like, oh shit, yeah, I'm really enjoying this. I'm really digging this right now.
It's worth saying that this is the team that made Doom Roguelike, or this is the company, the studio that made Doom Roguelike in 2002. So like they've been making and then Aliens Roguelike in, I want to say that was the early 2010s, I believe. So like this team has been doing this game, or has been not doing this game, but has been like pushing towards this for decades now, and it's very exciting to see them like nail the thing, do it in a way that like is a little bit more approachable for a wider audience that wants graphics and doesn't just want ASCII art. And to have this like really built out perk system and interesting weapon designs and all that stuff. So it's nice. It's nice to see someone like these are people who were like, when I was paying attention to this scene in the 2000s, Chaos Forge was I think it's a specific, because if I remember right, Derek Yu worked on Doom Roguelike. But but I don't think Derek Yu is working on Jupiter Hell. I'm going to look up this person's name because I remember Cornell Kaiselwitz is the person who was working on like Doom Roguelike, Aliens Roguelike, and so to see this continue to be like, hey, this has been a 20-year project in a real way is very exciting and cool. So, and if you like it, there are lots of other roguelikes like this that are really fun. That's what I should say. Is that like, if you like Cado, I would love to see you get into like Dungeon Crawl Stone Soup, which is probably DCSS is probably my personal favorite roguelike of all time is probably Sheer and the Wanderer, specifically the Sheer and the Wanderer that came out on the DS, which was I forget which one it was. Maybe that was just a remake of the original SNES Sheeran, not the original, but one of the SNES Sheerans. And that was like the one that cracked roguelikes for me. I think I've mentioned this before. It had a little bit of cross-run progress in the sense of there were like quests you could complete that would add things to your journey. The way Sheer and the Wanderer worked is that you were kind of climbing a tower, and like not a tower, a mountain. And at certain points up the mountain, after certain levels, you would hit like a little town or a little like shrine, and there were quests that could add, like, hey, you helped a family build a restaurant here, so now you can like get one heal at this restaurant, halfway through your journey or whatever, or a buff or whatever. So it had a little bit of that, but it was mostly a traditional roguelike with a lot of character and flair and really cool spells that you could use via scrolls, and like it was very, very, very charming. But then when I was like, okay, well, what else is there here for me? I started playing a lot of the kind of big roguelikes of that era, the kind of mid 2000s, which were like Angband, DCSS, Tome. And DCSS is the one that I think I liked the most, mostly because it was goofy and filled with shit. Goofy is too strong. Like, goofy makes it sound like it's a comedy game, and it's not that. But it is a game that has... It's one of those things where it's like, well, okay, you're going to make your character at the beginning of the game. What species and class are they? And like the species list is 24. It's do you want to be a deep dwarf, a deep elf, a demigod, a draconian, a gargoyle, a hill orc, a human, a kobold, an octopode, a mummy, etc. And like they all have lots of weird little abilities.
Hell yeah.
They all have a billion different little things. And then on top of that, there's just like dozens of classes. And that was like fun because I would often just kind of randomly pick and be like, all right, what am I this time? What the hell is a warper? How does an air elementalist differ from an ice elementalist in play? What's the difference between a healer and a priest? But I want to say I played a lot of Death Knight, though it looks like Death Knight's been removed. So damn. Rip to that got removed in 2015. So rip to the Death Knight, I guess. But yeah, so like there's a whole world of roguelikes that move like this, even if they don't have like a cover system. And it's worth digging into them a little bit. I also think that there's something I really like the ways in which the roguelike, I was joking around before, but I do really love the ways in which the roguelike has been exploded, and the ways in which games have come at run-based proc gen design in different directions. I think that we're all better for that having happened. But I also think that I wish there had been a slightly more contiguous line drawn between, or not drawn, because I think if you talk to the developers, they draw that line all the time. But for the players of things like Binding of Isaac or Hades or FTL, there was a more direct line that could help them lead back into these types of roguelikes that inspired a lot of those elements. Because I think there's a lot of fun there, and I think that for people who maybe struggle at the action gameplay of something like Hades, they might find something to like in the slower, more methodical paced stuff in these original, not the Jupiter Hell's quote unquote original, but you know what I mean. This kind of turn by turn, kind of tactical RPG stuff that comes out of the more traditional RPG or the more traditional roguelike vein.
Yeah.
So,
God,
Jupiter Hell.
It just reminds me how kind of unfortunate it was that I didn't like Pokemon Mystery Dungeon, because it's what it is, kind of, but something about the level of or like the lack of really of challenge, and the like some it's kind of a weird, like, I don't know how to get into this, but like, despite the sort of like discourse around difficulty, I do think that for especially these like kind of turn-based versions, because you have, I I mean, you have all the time in the world to think through your moves, right? There
Yeah.
needs to be a certain level of actual difficulty worth thinking through your moves about, right? You know?
Yep.
And
Well, Cado, if you like Mystery Dungeon, Pokemon, whatever, and you wished it was harder, here's Sharon the Wanderer, the Tower of Fortune, and Dice of Fate on
right,
PC.
great. Good, thank you.
It's also a Mystery Dungeon game, so
Yeah.
it has a lot of the same language. It'll be legible to you, but it will absolutely kick your ass in a different way.
It's
So,
just very funny for how hard the like, hey, it's Pokemon, but it's a MOBA, like hit really, really well because they made like it's just a MOBA. Like they didn't really cut any corners or with like
Right.
what the game is and how it's structured. That they didn't like with when they had tried with Mystery Dungeon. It was kind of they kind of missed there.
yeah,
But yeah, I need to check these out. I need to play more of them.
I think you'd like them. I really do.
Yeah.
All right, we should take a break and come back and talk about some other stuff. BRB. All right, we are back. Chernobylite. You play any more, Rob?
Yeah, I think I'm coming around to it.
Okay. What was the thing? What was the moment? How did you come around on it?
So I think it's a couple things. One, I finally was like, I think this game is too fucking dark. I have never seen a game whiff on gamma settings this hard auto setup, but I was like, I cannot see shit without a flashlight. Like, and at first I was like, okay, it's just like going that grimy grimness, and I was like, no, this is just too dark. I have to turn the lights up in this game because when things are lit by the flashlight, they get that like Unreal Engine sheen that we all remember, so it doesn't become that much more navigable. So the whole game, I felt like I was looking at it through, one of those little boxes you use to look underwater, where it's just, you got such a tight little perspective. So corrected some basic things about how I was interacting with the game, started to really embrace, like, I gotta make this a happy little cozy hutch for my squatties.
That's exactly it. Yes.
Like, the minute it was like, oh man, Oliver is sad because the base isn't cozy.
Yeah.
And I was like,
when he's like, can you get a radio or some plants in here? Yes, I fucking can, Oliver, my boy.
when it was like, your team members want their own room, and I was like, done. I was like, he was like, can I have a plant? And I was like, you can, Oliver. So I created a cozy little reading nook for him by his bed in a corner of the house. Put an LED wall light up.
Yep.
And like sort of screened him off, and like he was happier, and he stopped slowly losing his mind in the base. And then I was like, yeah, I'm going to build a little TV area and make sure everyone's got entertainment. I think there was that aspect of it. I think actually the way it gives you lots to do with each sort of run out in a different part of the zone is actually really effective. I think the thing that sort of hit with me is the comparisons to Stalker are actually really superficial. This ain't Stalker. It's Yakuza Judgment, but set in the exclusion zone.
Let's go.
Like,
you're right. All the fucking weirdo characters, all the little side quests.
So weird.
Dude, did you meet the guy who's like in a gang, but all his other gang members are dead, but him? And then he
that's
jumps you into
That's when it hit me. I was like, this is Yakuza. Like, this is just what it is. There's like, you have to go on a hacking mission. Not a hacking mission, but you have to go like take out the paramilitary corp that is like running the zone now. And like the dude who sends you on this mission is like, now I need to type in www dot heart is a lonely hunter dot ru. Open the FTP, look for the folder, smelly panties. There's an underscore. And I was like, this is dumb as hell. But
Yeah,
also
I'm
I was
hearing
like,
you now. Yeah.
yeah, but also I was like, I'm in, baby.
There's a God, who's the other? There was another character who similarly felt. Oh, like one of the big first choices you get in this game. They're like a weird old guy calls you, and he's like, come to this part of the zone. So the basic structure for people who don't remember this from previous conversations is that you have a base, and then every day you're sending people out from that base into various parts of the zone. This area around, I guess it is still Chernobyl. I guess it is. It's called Chernobylite.
Yeah.
It's Jupiter hell. You send people out to Mars. You send people out to different parts of the zone, and they're doing their own missions. But then you tend to get like more story mission type things given to you by NPCs who are like, "Hey, come through, hack these servers. Come through. I want to meet you." And you get this old dude calls you, and he's like very cryptic and maybe seems to know some shit about your missing and or dead wife, who's also talking to you the whole game as a ghost, which that's no good. Also, we're talking about a world where like you got a portal. I've mentioned this before. You have like a portal gun that takes you into a different realm. So I don't know. Maybe she's just in the realm. Who could say where she is?
This is the other part of this that's starting to get to me too. Is like I am not convinced that you are not the villain of this game.
Oh, you are absolutely. You get the flashback where you're like, where your character is like,
Doc, you need to let this go.
You need to fucking let this go, dude. Your guy has invented some like wild technology that's like going to change everything, and everyone is like, no, stop it. There is not enough power on Earth to run the machine, dude.
And fundamentally, he's like, this is the only way I'm going to get to see my wife again.
Yeah,
and it's like your wife is gone, man, and
let
he's
it
like,
go.
With enough unholy nuclear energy that breaches the gap between us and the demon realm, I will be able to see my wife again, who also seems to be cryptically warning me, maybe not do what I'm doing, but whatever, I'm going to do it.
Give James Sunderland a physics degree, and we're good. That's what it basically is. Like I compared it to Silent Hill 2 before, but it truly feels like we're getting there with it. But this guy's like, I want to meet you. And you show up to that place. He's not there. He has sent another guy there. And that guy has given you he's like, all right, hey, there's a test from the old guy. The old guy has left behind two things here. Either you can upgrade your PDA, which like, you don't even have what I would think of as a PDA. So it's easy to not understand what that option is. Or you can blow up the Duga. You can blow up the Moscow Eye, which we talked about this thing recently because of its presence in Stalker 2. Yeah. Right. Well, not just in Stalker 2. In Stalker, the Duga radar. It's this huge radar array. And you're just like, okay, here's a test. Do you want an upgrade to your sensors, or do you want to blow up this giant radar? Like, it's not a radar dish. It's like a web of metal. Basically,
yeah,
huge
enormous
towers.
Like steel lattice work.
Yeah, exactly. And I don't know. I blew it up. I was like, all right, fuck it. And so now I'm on a path with that guy to get him to like join up and be part of the heist, basically. And I did not expect this game to have decision making in that way. Not that Stalker doesn't, but like in my mind, this wouldn't. Again, that goes to your Yakuza or Judgment comparison, where it's like, I'm gathering this group of characters. I guess Yakuza games don't have big choices like this either, but it is in that narrative space versus being in the sim space. I'm kind of like, you're going out on quests more than you are just, again, a Stalker has quests, but you know what I'm saying. You understand I hope you understand the distinction I'm trying to make, that like, it feels more episodic. It feels more like it's built around, and I think the day structure works like that. You go out on a run. Maybe you have a specific mission to go hack these computers, but while you're there, your map is filled with other potential encounters. Maybe a truck has been pulled over, and you can go fuck with the truck and steal stuff from the people there, or you can there's just a weird dude in a room who your wife is using as a medium to talk to you. Did you get that event, Rob? Like a creepy guy. I found like a creepy guy in a room who would say a thing, and then I would hear my wife say the thing, and it was stuff that felt like her trying to scare me off of this entire endeavor.
Yeah.
And then I left the room and I heard a gunshot, and Okay. Oh, I didn't know you were playing it too, Cado.
Oh yeah, I talked
you
about
in.
it. I'm still very early. I'm only like
Gotcha.
3.5 hours in. And I want to make little rooms for people, but the other thing is I haven't actually hit a second person past the first one you get. So I wasn't really feeling it yet. Listening to y'all talk about what the other characters kind of like when they do a show up seem like that seemed like a more interesting game than the one I'm currently in.
Yeah.
The other part of this is, I guess I'm starting to get on with the crafting as well. Like, part of it is about the decoration. Part of it is your base has an ecosystem where it's like, if you build more like resource generating stuff, like be it power or food, it will like the quality of the environment will decline. So you have to build more like, air scrubbers and such. But the thing that is also very funny to me is that, like a lot of crafting games, the economy of craftables makes zero sense, because it's like, do you want to build a 36-inch CRT TV? Yeah, use some of your scrap metal and your electronics parts. You can just do that. Do you want to create a lockpick? That will take all the metal you've ever found in the entire game, which cracks me up. It's like, okay, and what they're doing is, there aren't many locked doors in this, and each one like is being used to screen off often both a rich vein of resources, but also some narrative shit. And so they really do want it to be like, I'm going into this mission with 3 lockpicks. I am going to sweep this map clean like it's never been done. Ditto with like when you can blow up like these there's these giant like Chernobylite crystal structures that also block shit off. You need special tools to get past it. Also later in the game, I'm not here yet, where like eventually, clearly, you'll have the option to extensively use Chernobylite as your own resource, which, if this game is going the direction I think it is, it's an unholy resource that, like, the deeper you get involved with it, the worse shit gets. But nevertheless, like, so the game makes it very easy to be like, I'm just going to, like, slap down tons of structures and, like, fun shit for my base. But then when it's like, okay, I want to create some stuff that's going to be useful on the missions, the game's like, oh, that's going to cost you. Yep. Like, oh, sorry, a 3D printer, easy, donezo. Just bang one out, my guy. And you're like, okay, cool. I need a crude shotgun, and it's like,
yeah,
and like upgrading. I would say it has a better weapon upgrade system than the Metro games does. It's clearly inspired by that, but like, the template for this game is you have a wide variety of like fairly simple weapon archetypes and a lot of different ways you can customize them that are often sort of mutually exclusive. And
you want to turn that shotgun into, like, honestly, kind of a long-range slug thrower. That's a thing that's on the table. Or you can just have it decimate people up close in a way that's like, that same base model is being used, but you really take it down different paths.
And it starts to create the sense of, well, because of some choices I made early on, my pistol's actually kind of my rifle.
Right.
So my rifle's actually going to need to fill a different role when I get it. I think the upgrades look pretty cool. They feel satisfying to use. Like when I upgraded to more open carbine sights on my pistol, I was like, oh, now I can see. And that's a really satisfying thing. Like, I think a lot of games don't make weaponsmithing particularly like tactile. I think this one succeeds at that, where it's like, oh, I made these upgrades and this weapon now feels potent. Like when I draw my 6 on some NAR like mercenaries now, I feel like the fucking gunslinger of the zone.
And one of the things I like right now is I'm still early enough where that combat feels a little scary. If things pop off in an uncontrolled way, it's not good for me. I need to I need to make the first move so that I can even the playing field if I'm up against more than one person. You know what I mean? Also, you take sanity damage or take psyche damage if you start killing people randomly, at least at the beginning of the game. You can get perks. I have a perk now that gets rid of the psych damage that I take from stealth kills, for instance. But I got that through.
Can you ever
That's
learn a
just,
non-lethal stealth takedown?
not that I've learned. Nope.
Because I keep being like, Dr.
choke these guys
Kimonev,
out.
what are you doing? He reaches around in front of people and basically like prison shanks them, where like he
Wait, do
stabs
they
them
not
multiple times in the gut.
Changed the animation on that? Because I thought the point is that what's the first guy? I forgot his name already. The first
The guy
character
who dies,
Anton?
or the
No,
first?
the person who
Oliver.
teaches you,
Oliver. Yes.
What Oliver is teaching you is how to knock someone out by putting them in a chokehold. That is like the narrative thing of like, you didn't know how to do that, so you were just out there stabbing dudes.
No, see, that's not the thing that.
That's what
in the tutorial for me, I choked out the first guy.
Yeah.
And Oliver was like, "What are you doing? We're in the zone. Kill that guy. Like, you can't just choke someone out here. It's noisy and loud." But did you get an upgrade that lets you choke them out instead, Cado? Is that the thing that happened?
Yeah, basically that's what the stealth kill upgrade is that you are knocking them out again. Oliver takes you out and says like, "Here, come knock me out. It's quieter, and also you won't take psyche damage because you're not killing them."
I didn't realize that was actually then it replaced my. I don't know that did replace my.
Wait, dude, I
my
got a stealth.
kill.
I did the stealth thing with Oliver, and all it was, it made me more stealthy. Where he was like, sneak up on me and tap me on the shoulder.
So there's two different ones. I have both of those things. That's the stealth one. There's also you're right, because it's called, there's also, precision, and then stunning, you're right, Kyle. That was explicitly called stunning. Takedowns are quieter.
Do that third
that
one.
makes sense. Okay, so yes.
That's the one I took first, because I was like, I don't want to be out here. Like, I'm happy to do the stealth route and like, find the best way to get behind all these dudes. But then if I'm still taking psyche damage, I might as well have shot them.
Yep, totally. But I had like one fight basically break bad on me during one of these missions where like there were three guys and one of them spotted me, and it was like, well, it was four guys. I choked out one of them, and the other three saw me, and I was like, well, this is a nightmare. I need to just bounce. I need to bug out on this just to like get to a safe zone where I can then try to re-encounter them. And I couldn't get away, and I ended up getting like into a kind of a rolling gunfight that felt pretty good. Like, I think for a game where they punish you for getting into combat, they have also done the thing where like the guns feel decent, the moving in and out of cover, moving in and out of like camouflage zones, to kind of drop in on them like some sort of Chernobyl Batman is very Batman with a gun, but still is pretty good.
Yeah, Batman. And
I just love the version of this where, again, the big thing that feels different from Stalker or from I guess I didn't get too far into the most recent Metro, but how often you just stumble into a big narrative beat or like a cutscene or an encounter with an NPC that's memorable. All of that stuff feels, it's not systemic because it's clearly like being loaded into this game. Do you know what I mean? It's in fact the point, the ways in which it's different from Stalker is that it's not systemic.
But yeah, I was about to ask about, is that what those other question marks usually are when you go into a level? Okay. I've been
trying to clear those out every time.
I've been beelining it, which makes more sense now of why I'm like the game y'all are describing sounds a lot better than the one I'm
That's
playing.
where you'll find NPCs, you'll find weird hauntings, you'll find ghosts, you'll find sometimes you'll just hear the violin play at a place and you're like, I don't know what's going on here, but I bet it's bad. Gotta go.
Yeah, I definitely ran into one on accident, but knowing that it is those extra bits that are marked, that is helpful. I'm gonna definitely check those out more often then.
Yeah. That's the play, for sure.
It just felt, I mean, because early on it felt dangerous to be out there. I had a fight go bad. And I was like, fuck it. I'm going back now. Like, I finished the main objective. I'm out.
Yeah. So yeah, Chernobylite. I'm glad you turned a corner on it, Rob. I hope, Cado, that you find the rhythm on it and see the stuff that we're digging about it. So yeah, that's definitely worth checking out. I'm glad I went back to it. I got a pair of Ruin games to talk about briefly. Yeah. The first one is a revisit, so I'm not going to stay on it long. It's Banners of Ruin, which is a dark anthro fantasy deck builder. It's the one that's like, what if Martin the Warrior in Redwall was like grimmer. I talked about it in an early access build last year, and it's still just not clicking with me. I'd hoped that in the time since that some of the design stuff would have gotten through. I think there's some stuff that really works. I think the art is really sharp. If what you want is like grim, dark, furry shit, here it is. Dead ass, like they nailed it. I like the ways in which you move through the kind of floors of the game, which are laid up as sort of a trio of decks that you're drawing through. And as you flip a card, that's like a new encounter, or it's a new spot, or it's like an opportunity to upgrade your gear, or whatever. Like Gordian Quest, a game that I think I like more than this, you're getting equipment for your characters. You have multiple characters. You have a party of characters, so it's different than something like Slay the Spire or Griftlands. You have that party grows slowly over the course of over a run, and you have lots of opportunities to kind of build them out in distinct ways, both through cards and equipment and perks as you level up. It is brutal. Like I think compared to something like Slay the Spire, it's out the gate much harder. It's much more punishing for when you make a mistake. I think we use the word punishing a lot without situating it. We use punishing as a synonym for difficult, but it's a particular type of punishing. Or difficult. It's when you make the wrong decision in a situation. How hard are you penalized for that? And this game is punishing in that specific way. It's built to do more than just slap you on the wrist when you make an inefficient choice. It's very easy to get overwhelmed. It's very easy to get stuck early on. And I think all of that is already enough to make me want to spend my kind of card game time somewhere else. But for me, the kind of nail in the coffin is that it's gone even deeper into some of the one of my least favorite things about this style of anthro game or anthro story is all bears are this, all wolves are this. And it's it's mechanized, it's in the game. It's the game that they're making. And I get wanting to make those choices matter. There's a reason why you want a wolf in your party instead of another mouse. And there's interesting stuff, mechanically, the fact that the wolves can use other people's weapons is a clever and interesting and dynamic ability to have access to. That's really fun. But it's so in the world building and so in the thing that it's a little it's just not my vibe when it comes to this stuff. I like anthro stuff where it feels like it's about finding a sort of expressivity around the animal choice versus it feeling like here are your genetic limits and predispositions, and this is very much that. In comparison, which it is what it is. That's the thing that they're making, and that's all over this style of fiction. So it's not a unique issue with them. If you've read stories in this genre before, if you've played games in the genre before, you've come across it. And it's evocative, and it's part of why we do. The kind of sly fox character type is. We already say sly like a fox. We already do that with our animal analogies. So it's not that surprising that a game in that space is going to do it. I'm not surprised that they haven't tried to break the mold on that necessarily. But it would be cool to play a mouse that isn't just the rogue type, that isn't just doing that thing. And so
it's fun to play against type sometimes, have the option at least.
It is. Let me at least have the, I guess you could, right? I could put heavy armor on one of these little mice and put, give them a big fuck off great axe or whatever, but that's just not optimized, and the game punishes you for not being optimized,
Right.
So yeah, that's Banners of Ruin. There's also a new thing that I've played that also was in early access for years and finally came out. It's Library of Ruina, or Ruina probably, which, do you remember when I brought troubleshooters to this podcast? Korean tactical RPG.
Yeah.
This is that, but for deck building.
Though
I was trying to describe.
You're fucked.
I mean, it's that in the sense that it's extreme. So much is happening. Someone asked me about this game yesterday, and I said, if you want the Library of Ruina experience, read this while listening to this. And what I linked musically was Library of Ruina String Theocracy, which is the OP to this game.
Good. Okay.
Which I'll link to y'all right now. You go ahead and hit play on that.
Right.
It's a great little jazzy number. The music in this game fucking slaps. So I said, listen to that while reading this. Light is the energy, quote unquote, to play pages. Light is spent when pages are used. Light can be restored via page effects, staggering, killing an enemy, and light is always fully restored when emotion level rises. Emotion level rises when enough emotion coins accumulate, down right or down left corner. You get emotion coins for +1 positive for winning a clash, +1 positive for max rolling a dice of a combat page, +1 negative for losing a clash, +1 negative for min rolling a dice of a combat page, +3 positive for killing an enemy, +3 negative when an ally dies. Combat or from combat page effects. As I said before, when emotion level rises, you fully restore light and gain +1 max light capacity, and there are additional bonuses on an emotional level of level 4 or 5. All characters start with an emotional level of 0 until a bit later in the game, your max emotional level will be level 1. And it's like, alright, I guess my emotion level goes up and my light goes up. That didn't really explain what any of that is. I'm there. I'm at the edge of it. I've watched a video of figuring this out, and mechanically it's starting to click in a way that's unlocking something in my brain. This game, first of all, this game is a sequel to a game in another genre entirely. And you don't need to play the other game at all, is my understanding.
Great.
That game is called Lobotomy Corporation. That game is a game about being the SCP Foundation or the Bureau of Control, basically, in which you are, I think, sending people to their doom. You're putting people in rooms with objects of power, aka with SCPs, aka with just weird X-Files shit. And that seems to be a weird base building, like, tactics thing. I don't really understand what Lobotomy Corporation is. That's okay. The Library of Ruina makes way more sense. You're playing as a fixer in a post-apocalyptic cyberpunk dystopian world, and you stumble into a library. The librarian, Angela, who I think is an AI in the first game, tortures you immediately, removing your arms. And also, I think you stumbled in there because you were looking for a sandwich. You were looking for a sandwich, and instead you go into this evil library. Anyway, that's okay. You work for the evil library now, and it's your job to kill the people who come into it so that they become books. You know what? Let me just read it from the Steam page. Yeah. Maybe I'm doing a bad job of this. Okay. Become the owner of the library and receive your guests. Your librarians will fight for the library. Combat between the guests and the librarians breaks out as if it were on a stage. Defeated guests turn into books, and the library grows onward. A good book will allow you to invite new guests with greater secrets. Amass a collection of books and explore the secrets of the city, and eventually get your hands on the one singular perfect book. I don't even know how to be. So it's a lot of text up front, a lot of world building up front, a lot of this is a city that's run by syndicates and gangs, and before every encounter with every chapter, you kind of see a picture of whoever's about to stumble into the library and get stuck there and fucking die by your hands. And it's like, here's a group of 3 down on their luck street rats struggling to find enough money to pay off the bill they owe to the bigger gang that they report up to. And the first thing that they do is you come in on them, like basically doing not just an autopsy, but like looking for cyberware or good body parts from a dead guy. And none of this is graphic, but they're talking about it like it's nothing. They're like, oh yeah, his guts are all weird in there. That's no good. Someone's made their guts all like popcorn in there, which is like, that sounds bad to me. But inside of the body, they find a black and gold invitation to this library, which they decide to use, and it whisks them away to this magic library. And then I killed them and turned them into books. And the way that you kill them is a card game, is a deck building style. Well, it's not a deck builder because you're not like It's a CCG style card game where you have downtime between battles to kind of put together what your deck looks like. Your characters have cards called pages. They all have mana cost. Mana is called light. All of that stuff is pretty basic. You have cards that do bleed effect. You have cards that do different types of damage. There's piercing damage, there's blunt damage, there's slashing damage. Characters have weaknesses. All that stuff makes perfect sense to me. But the flow of combat is wild. Everybody rolls initiative dice at the top of a round.
All right.
Right? It's a 1d6.
Uh-huh.
Whoever has the highest acts first. Like something like, say, the Spire, you can see intentions. You can see the enemies are going to hit your first person or your third person, whatever it is, and you can see what card they're going to use. The thing about the game is, all right, each card, all right, let's say it's 1-on-1, Cado.
Mm-hmm.
It's you and me.
Yeah.
You are going to hit, you are targeting me. You have a thing where you're going to do 4 slashing damage and then 5 blunt damage to me. That's no good. I only have 10 health. I got to be careful. But I rolled higher initiative than you, which means my card is going to go first. I'm going to hit you first. And if I can do enough stagger damage to you, I'm going to knock you out before you can hit me with that potential 9 damage, right? So I'm trying to that means I'm going to play a card that hits your weakness, and it hits like 2 or 3 times. However, then we come together, and when it's time to see if we hit, we roll dice again, and the higher number hits. So I whiff on that first one, and I only do a little bit of damage to you. Now, maybe it would be better if I had instead played a card that added some defense to...
What was the first dice roll for then?
Initiative. Who goes first? Now, the reason that's silly, right? Why does that matter if it's 1-on-1? Well, what if it's not 1-on-1? What if it's 2-on-3 and they're ganging up on one person? Or I have a weak character who's about to die. Well, I can intercede with my faster character and block one of the hits coming in on that first person. Okay. I can jump in front. So
it's like per character, not like per.
It's per character, not per side.
Correct. Okay. That makes more sense. God damn.
Does it?
I'm just saying like that now there's a reason for it to happen if you're gonna roll dice again when you actually clash. Like what? But no, I see how this is setting up.
And so then on top of all of that,
is there any way this feels like the type of game that's gonna have like a full like turn order somewhere where you can see where everyone's going, or is this not that?
You can see the numbers very clearly. Okay. And it's round by round, right? So, and it changes. This is the thing. That initiative, that's just for that round. Next round, re-roll initiative.
Okay.
Also, you're burning... It's the reason that person asked on the forums, like, how does light work? Is because you start with 3 light or 4 light, and you regain it, like I said before, you regain it when you win a clash, or you roll max damage on a combat page, or you kill an enemy, or your emotion level goes up because you got emotion coins, and that's important because that's how you get mana back. It's not like you come back every round with full mana. Sometimes you can just get beat to shit, and you end up with like 2 mana, and you're like, well, I'm glad I have this level 1 or this 1 light card, right? Because otherwise I'd be fucked in this turn or whatever. Again, it has so much going on in terms of character customization, in terms of deck customization, in terms of equipment, in terms of just like the very basic, what am I doing in this round? It is not a easy game. It is a hard game, and you're constantly getting wild narrative drops, but it's conflicts. It might be great.
Conflicts that build with emotion.
That's true.
Confrontation in the library is not just about killing your enemies; it's about heightening emotions.
This is the thing. So that specific thing is like, okay, you know how if you talk to anyone who likes wrestling and video games, they're like, wrestling video games don't understand that the thing that wrestling is not about winning a fight. It's about putting on a good match and having like a good entertaining show and telling a story.
Pacing and
you get better drops in this game if the enemy's emotion level is higher. So if they think they're going to win, and the reason their emotion level goes higher is because they're beating the shit out of you. So if you let them have a little bit of fun, this is my understanding of this mechanic anyway. Maybe I'm wrong, but I think this is true. And then you beat them, which is hard because you'll be low on emotion, which means you're not going to have a lot of mana. Then you get better rewards. So like literally you're incentivized to throw the fight a little bit.
Look, they even use the word match in here.
And then stomp them. Do they? Yeah, well, yeah, it's all
Furthermore,
staged. It's all like
dialogue can appear depending on the situation of the battle and will make one's viewing experience of the match unfolding even more enjoyable.
That's true. At the bottom of the screen during every fight, there is like a like a little dialogue box for every character that's like commenting on how the last round went, basically. Or like what they're planning on doing next,
Right.
basically, in a way that's, it's the thing that it is. It's very much in a manga, anime place. I think it's a Korean game by Project Moon, but it has that vibe of like, characters yelling things at each other, or like, again, it's a lot of them talking about the thing that just happened. Basically, I'm trying to find an example of it, but all the gameplay
saying
I'm seeing is
what sounds like an inner monologue, just saying it out loud, like inner.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's exactly it, right? It's like one character says, I told you it was a bad idea to walk in here. Someone says, why'd you have to be so weak? Damn you. I didn't scrape the bottom of my whole life just to do this. And then your character saying, I better not get impatient and get things done for certain. It's like those sorts of things are just popping up during combat constantly. There are like challenge mode things. I had to fight a weird flesh monster, which maybe is connected to I don't know if that's connected to the lobotomy corporation stuff or not, but I was fighting this guy, and then in the background just a lady's eyes showed up with eyelashes, and it said, a knife driven by a vaguely aroused will doesn't have what it takes to end a life. And my character is saying Angela's right, this place is really bizarre, there are creepy looking blood clots all over the place too. Quick mode on. Turn off quick mode. Turn off quick mode. If you're playing this game, top left corner, it says quick mode on, turn off quick mode. It will make more sense.
What?
I think.
Okay.
I don't know. Music's great. Music is great.
Yeah,
and that goes a long
song
way.
Was a bop.
And the exchanges, like the way that these clashes work, where your character is like dancing between the other characters on the screen, like deflecting certain things. It can be hard. It can be very hard to understand what is happening moment to moment, but it's always cool. I've died a lot in this game, and always like, damn, that looks sick. I died sick. Y'all do me right at the funeral. You please let people know that when I died, I look cool as hell.
Sure, that really got the emotions running,
My emotions were down, apparently.
Yeah.
Their emotions were up. You're right. It did get their emotions running. If only I could spin this one back around to a win, maybe we'd be somewhere. But unfortunately, instead, I got. I met these guys. These guys are great. These robots. There's like 3 cool cyborg, look like full body cyborg people who have just like metal arms and shit. And Mo, brother of Iron, says, you guys should regularly refill your head with brain fluid. Sure. Great. Mo's probably right. You probably should refill your brain with brain fluid. That seems important to me. I don't know. That's Library of Ruina. I like it. Angela told me not to be too concerned about my life because I'm not allowed to die here unless she permits me to.
Oh, okay.
So,
cool.
She's a nice coat, so I guess that gives her a lot of authority.
A nice coat?
Yeah, she's a nice coat. She's a cool.
Oh, she has a nice coat. I thought you said she is a nice coat.
She might be. I don't know.
She's in for a nasty surprise when all the subs unionize.
That's dude. That is the vibe. 100%. It is 100. Listen, there's going to be enough librarians eventually. We're going to take this place over.
Yeah.
We're gonna make demands. What is that tweet or what is that Reddit post? It's that. You know the one I'm talking about. It's the one that Rob is referencing. Library of Ruina. It's worth looking at. It's worth looking. You'll know immediately. Is this for me? You'll know immediately. You will be able to refund this game within that 2 hours if you think this is you can't deal with it. I promise you. Just watch the second gameplay trailer and be like, I don't know what's happening. This might be too much. Did that guy just use a move called Inhale Smoke? Yes, and it was countered by Emotional Turbulence. Don't worry, I'm going to play Faint Memories, and that's going to have a buff on it that reduces slashing damage or whatever. So, I don't know. So far, so good.
Sounds great. Honestly.
Speaking of slightly less complicated tactical decision making, I just want to shout out that Rob and I finished our Wildermyth our campaign on stream this week. That'll go up presumably on YouTube this week at some point, right?
Yeah. It should already be up, I think, by the time this comes out. Yes, it will already be up. Nice. You only have to wait that 24 hours, so.
Yeah, so go check that out. That was a fun arc, let's say. Let's say the difficulty choices we made at the beginning of that campaign really bit us in the ass, and we made some adjustments, and we found some new talent, and there's some interesting arcs there. Yeah. So I hope folks enjoy that. Anything else you want to take a quick dip in the old question bucket before we wrap up here today? I feel like that's
Let's
probably
get that bucket.
Yeah, let's dip in the bucket.
Let's get into a dip into the bucket. Let's see here. Chris writes in and says, small quibble, Mass Effect remaster. Not challenging your broader points. You didn't think replaying the series is worth your time right now. However, I do think you're underselling the remaster in one very important regard, DLC. While all 3 games were accessible in modern PC storefronts like Steam and Origin, the DLC for ME 1 and 2 were only accessible through an old, poorly maintained BioWare website. To get it, you literally had to buy BioWare points, use those points to buy the DLC, then download exe files to install it. While the source code for Mass Effect 1 Battle Arena DLC was lost, a thing I'm bummed about, by the way, all the rest of the DLC was integrated into those games in the remasters. Now it's all just there and available for anyone playing the remasters to try. Not defending the quality of all that DLC, especially Overlord. Yeah, Overlord's bad. Or some of the other changes they made in the remaster, but this is the sort of games preservation you said you wish there was more of earlier in the pod. Chris, he, him.
Yeah, I mean, Rowan Kaiser
go
wrote an article about this, like on the site, basically arguing that the greatest achievement of the Legendary Edition was that it was like sort of it collated a lot of stuff that was sort of scattered, and like arguably, Mass Effect didn't work without some of these side stories. Like, I mean, like I never played Shadow Broker. Because people were like, well, that's the best DLC they ever made. But I was still like, but I played Mass Effect 2. I think I'm good.
Oh.
But like, there are people who will tell you, and the case seems pretty ironclad, that in like Liara's character arc is incomplete without Shadow Broker. Like, it's just like
that's
you
exactly
need that
true.
DLC.
Yeah, that's absolutely true. Neil writes in, hey everyone. Not so much a question as a short story about the time I got ridiculously frustrated at a crossword puzzle question. Rob, we did some crossword talk on the podcast on
I figured.
Tuesday. Yeah, we did it. This wasn't the New York Times or anything. It was just some random magazine at a grocery store I worked at in Canada. The hint was the American equivalent of a liter, and the answer was 6 letters. As an American, I had learned all these conversions and knew the closest size would be a quart. But that's obviously only 5 letters. On top of that, the Q and the U were so extremely not going to fit, I can't recall what was crossing it. Anyway, this little magazine had all the answers at the end of it, so after plumbing the depths of my brain, I gave up and looked. Their answer was gallon. I could not believe
God
it.
damn
Not only because that size exists in Canada as well, but because it's just wrong in every sense of equivalency. Do they think all Americans consume 4 times as much liquid as Canadians or something? Anyway, the rest of the day at work, I could not get over this and have not played a crossword since.
Wow.
This was about 4 years ago. Yeah, that's wrong. A gallon is not a liter. Like,
no.
Pretty dramatic.
I guess here's the thing. Here's the sense in which that is correct.
Yeah.
Americans probably think in terms of gallons in the way that other cultures like think in like metric, like cultures that use metric system.
I was gonna
think
say
in liters.
Like they say 1 liter, we say half gallon.
Yep.
Right? Like that's
Sure.
The way it's
but
like,
I agree.
It's the base
work.
It's the base unit around which you base other measurements off when you're talking colloquially, right? You don't say I don't know. You could say 4 cups, but nobody says 4 cups. You say half a gallon. Yeah.
Or you think about their bagged milk. That's a 4-liter bag of milk, and that or 4-liter bags of milk, 4 1-liter bags of milk, and that is a gallon of milk for us, right? Give or take.
Right.
Like whenever you say like Americans use miles, not kilometers. That is the equivalency, right? Like it is. So I do get it, but I also that is a very upsetting clue.
Yeah. Yes.
I would be very angry, but from a certain point of view,
boo.
Yeah. Obi-Wan Kenobi, your crossword editor, pulling in. So you see, from a certain point of view, that clue was great.
Oh God. All right. Greg writes in with a food bucket question. Some background. My partner is a vegetarian, cannot handle spice, heat really, can't stand mushrooms or eggplant, and her favorite food is white bread. Not bad white bread, mind you. What we most often have in our house is delicious crusty baguette from a local bakery down the street. Because of the convenience, we're rarely without a fresh loaf, or part of one, always with a ticking timer until it's too stale to enjoy properly. The dilemma. I'm the cook in our house. And so 5 out of 7 dinners of the week end up in the question of not what do we want to eat tonight, or what do I feel like cooking tonight, but what will go well with this bread we have. Not featuring the bread as an ingredient, mind you. What complements this baguette sliced and unmolested by anything except for some good butter. I'm reaching my wit's end. I live under the tyranny of tasty fresh bread. I've brought this up to my partner, who even recognizes that it's begun to bother me, and occasionally says that we can do something else, something featuring rice or some alternate starch, tacos, etc. But I know she's just humoring me, longing for the next meal where she can indulge in her true desire. So here is my question. What is your favorite meal that goes well with bread? I've exhausted my roster of soups and egg dishes, and desperately need some new inspiration. Extra points if it's summer-friendly food that doesn't make a sweltering house appreciably hotter. I crave the insight of the Food Bucket Brain Trust. Yours in gluten, Greg in Cleveland.
Well, I don't understand the premise, because any meal, you just put that bread out first. You put that bread out first like you're at a restaurant, right? You a couple of slices, you just fucking eat it. This is what I would do. I just eat bread because it's good.
Reduce the portions of other stuff and just eat the bread.
Yeah.
Which is what their partner is doing. But that one can only have so much bread unless one is that partner. So here's the issue. There's a few issues. I like when I got really into bread making, which was not actually I had my I'm gonna make all the bread phase years ago. It was a really poorly. I was like, I'm saving money. I was not saving money. Are you fucking kidding me? The electricity I was using to make the bread loaves and shit. No, that was absurd. Not even considering the time, but nevertheless, I was making baguettes. I made my own sandwich bread that was fucking amazing. It was great. It was a good life. But the bread was showing up in such quantities that it was kind of crowding out other things. It's like, so we gotta get through these. We gotta get through all this bread.
Yeah.
And so next thing I knew, it was like, okay, we're having strata for breakfast again. Strata's really good, but once strata's regularly appearing in one's repertoire, it's gonna start getting a little monotonous. It's a more of a fun treat. It's like a little breakfast lasagna made of the ends of bread cut into cubes and soaked in egg. It's really good, but it gets a bit exhausting. But what this really sounds like to me is you got to stop, and you've been given this out. Your partner has what they like. Your partner just wants bread stuff. Your partner is just going to chow down on that cheese plate with the bread or that beautiful, vegan. So what? Hang on. What were the dietary constraints?
Vegetarian.
Okay, yeah. So yeah. Could definitely have cheese. Could definitely have butter. They got what they like. The problem I'm hearing is that you think I gotta prepare food for the house. No, you're cooking for you now. The bread's got this.
The bread's not enough. The bread's not a meal.
That's not for this. That's not for this person to decide.
You're saying, okay, but maybe it's been decided upon that Greg is going to prepare meals, and Greg's partner is doing something else. Is maybe that's the division here, and that's been agreed upon. People are happy with that division. Greg likes to. We don't know the full situation. I don't think we could just let Greg's partner live on bread alone.
I would agree, but it sounds like they're pretty strongly voting for bread alone.
No, I think it's bread and. I think it's a bread and situation. Right. I just think that the partner is happy with whatever the thing is not matching the bread, whereas Greg wants some sort of
matching
culinary, right.
Yeah, but most of that, which is why I was saying, you don't need to. Just eat some bread. Also, the other thing, there's ways, good ways, if something does go hard, go stale.
Croutons, yeah.
Yeah, other uses. You can make, I have to actually look up I think it's just bread pudding, but this is what we do in my house when the too much bread we got because we were 6 people and it's kind of hard to gauge how much you really need. So we always got a little too much. But once that bread went hard, you get enough of that and you make it into a bread pudding, which is fucking delicious. The Colombian version is not what you're thinking of when you think of bread pudding because it's made out of stale bread instead of fresh bread, which I think is what the English version is made out of. But yeah, there's other things you can do with stale bread. I think the worry of it going stale and hard is maybe overblown. Maybe you should be find new uses for that stale bread.
Yeah, panzanella salad or variations on that are always great. I think one of my favorite things in the world, you can substitute lots of greens in this. It's basically like a genre of salad, but it's like leafy green, like a vinaigrette dressing, croutons, and like topped with poached eggs. Like that's always a banger. Grate a little Parmesan over that. It's perfect. You can dress it up a million different ways. You can put like meat on it for yourself and not on your partner's plate. That's great. But I would also I strongly advocate here, just like, hey, you got your little like cheese plate with your bread, or we got stuff to go with the bread. That's great. I'm going to cook myself a meal over here that I'm going to enjoy. Because the thing is that like if bread is the backbone of this, like it's so easy. Like there's just not that much cooking that needs to be done.
I see what you're saying. I do see where it's coming from. I think I'm going to go with Cado here, which is just serve the meal, maybe less portions, let the bread, or the thing is, the bread you're talking about just sounds good. I'm yeah. My other answer is pasta.
Have more bread snacks,
but that's a lot of carbs. That's a lot of carbs. I don't know. Yeah, I'm just broadening out your. I don't know. It's a tough situation. Yeah. I get it. Anyway, we're gonna move on. We get a note here from Josh about some crossword drama.
Ooh.
Some ongoing crossword drama.
Ooh.
Hey, Waypointers. I've written to you to report some crossword scene drama. Like many of you, I've also been watching The Daily Solve with Chris Remo. And there are hundreds of us at this point. Everyone should be doing it, though. I make Chris Remo's crossword puzzles videos, The Daily Solve, trending on YouTube, please. I've developed a newly found love with crosswords. I'm entirely new to the scene, but I felt you all needed to know about the scene drama. On the subreddit r/crossword, a surprisingly active subreddit of 10,000 plus users, I found this post concerning a seemingly popular New York Times crossword blog by Rex Parker, which I read, which features many guest writers. They typically write about that day's crossword puzzle, giving background on certain obscure clues and giving overall review of the crossword. That there's an image here, which it says, anyone know what this Rex Parker editor's note is about? And it's a tweet from Rex Parker saying, I have been alerted to certain inappropriate remarks of today's guest write-up, and they've been removed and replaced with this note. Rex Parker. Seems Rex deleted a fairly personal attack on Jeff Chen by the guest blogger. Anyone have the original text? Also, I know people get passionate about crossword info and crosswords in general, me, but come on. So, going back to this email. Naturally, this sparked curiosity. I read the edited version of the blog only to find that the guest blogger deeply disliked the crossword puzzle on August 9th, which, if you've played them, I guess I'll keep reading, and had some strong criticisms of the puzzle format. If you recall, this was a sort of jigsaw puzzle hidden within the crossword puzzle.
Yeah.
Do you remember that puzzle?
Yeah.
Great one. That puzzle was really fun. Me too. There was also some frustration that New York Times recently announced that they will end compatibility for Crosslight, which I think is an app that lets people play their crosswords. Which allowed New York people with New York Times subscriptions to download the crossword in a .puz format and load it into any third-party crossword-solving software. This has been seen as a cash grab by the New York Times to funnel users into their app/website for solving the crossword puzzle. As per the quote-unquote inappropriate remarks from Rex Parker's blog, someone did link to it. They did capture it. It's out there. I'm not going to read this now deleted thing, but it's out there for people who want to go see it. The gist of this is there's currently a fight in the community between people who are pro this move because it will allow that crossword to do things that the .puz readers can't currently do with their puzzles, like this puzzle, this jigsaw puzzle one. Which for people who haven't done this, it was like there were tetraminos. Am I saying that right?
Yeah, I think people also pronounce it tetronymos.
Tetronymos. There are tetronymos throughout the like shaded in tetronymos throughout the puzzle, and at the bottom, boxed in, was a section that was made up of those tetronymos. Basically, if they're not all of them exactly,
one of them was, but they kind of fit.
Yeah, one of them was 5. But they fit together, and if you put in the letters from those shaded in boxes, it would form a new word with the other ones, like a puzzle piece coming together. It was really cool. And it was a great way to. It
itself was a clue that wrapped back into multiple clues in the puzzle, and also I figured out the clue before I figured out all the puzzle pieces, so it gave me
you could fill those in
of the notes. Yeah, it was
really great, fantastic. And so someone, the community has been opposed to this move away from the .puz file because it feels like it's kind of forcing everyone into the New York Times ecosystem, which I get. But this reviewer was basically like, if this is what it's going to lead to, then this is a net positive. And apparently she got some harassment for it, apparently. Which is unsurprising. The world is the fucking world, and it turns out we get people yelling at women everywhere. And I get this is a legitimate like cultural beef, and a legitimate place to have a fight about it. But can we just please, really? Are we really doing this? And the answer is yes, we're really doing this. Thank you for the drama update, Josh. Yeah. I'll keep my ear to the ground on this important developing crossword. Drama, always important to me. Maybe one more here and we'll wrap it up.
Feels weird. I want to look into what the .puz, like how that is limited.
What are the limits of? Yeah.
Because it didn't seem like that was that far out of the realm of things that have happened in a crossword. I don't know. It's weird. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. We got a gift follow-up, and we'll end on this as posy vibes, in my opinion. Josh writes in, different Josh. Hi, Waypoint. Following on the pretending to enjoy receiving gift stories, I have a video game-related one, similar to Patrick's Mortal Kombat story. I was about 10 years old when the N64 came out in Australia, and I begged my parents over and over to get one. They kept telling me we couldn't afford it, and Dad even offered to buy me some games for the PC instead, but I knew I wanted that Mario. When Christmas finally rolled around, there was a large, soft present for me under the tree. I opened it, and it was just a regular old bath towel. I was so polite. I said, wow, thanks, guys, and set it aside. Until Dad rolled his eyes and said, for God's sake, unwrap the towel. They had taken the N64 out of the box and wrapped it up in there just to mess with me. I don't really remember what happened after that. I assumed I blacked out from excitement or just played Mario 64 for the next 24 hours straight. Thank you, Josh. I'm a liar. There's one more. We get one more in here. And one of these, I'm just going to do one of these. I'll save the other ones. Because we on Monday, Rob, someone asked us to align ourselves with Pokemon moves. Which Pokemon moves did we feel like we embodied? And from that, therefore, what Pokemon were we? And Matthew wrote in to say, here's my list of hosts based on Pokemon moves they are, and therefore which Pokemon they are. I think there's a chance to come across as rude or presumptive by categorizing. So these are, of course, vague impressions based on perceived podcast energy. Me and Cado aren't in here because we already have ours. But Rob, we got one for you. Perceived energy. What are you even talking about? Move. Glare. That works. Pokemon. Zygarde complete form.
Oh,
which I've never seen before.
The one that looks like a fucking mecha?
Yeah, what is this? What is this from?
Yeah, that's from Sun and Moon. Those
shit.
It's sick. It starts as a dog and then
what?
Oh,
it does.
Yeah. You get
then it becomes a big snake thing.
Snake thing. Yeah. It's
is that in combat it does that, or is that those are its evolutions? These are its evolutions.
Not even though. It is it's basically there's hidden pieces of this Pokemon which are you can see them if you look up. They're like little amoebas, basically. And once you get to a certain point, you get the first level, which is the dog. And then as you continue to uncover them, you have to hit another threshold of how many of these you found, and then it becomes the snake. It just like turns into the more, and then like the complete form is you found every single piece of it, and it's this big mecha looking motherfucker.
Sick mecha. Yeah, I love this thing.
It's really cool. Apparently there's some specific, I'm trying to remember, there's like a myth that this is referencing something about a dog and a snake. I remember reading about it at one point.
I got it. Zygarde complete form may be based on Hel, the ruler of Helheim, the realm of the dead in Nordic myth. So that's this doesn't say more than that. But sure, there we go.
There was something about a dog turning into a snake, or there being a dog and snake in the myth. Something like that.
Yeah. This is. Let's see. This one doesn't turn into a snake. So I don't know.
Maybe there's a snake involved. I don't know. But yeah, the Zygarde. Oh my God, Zygarde complete. I keep forgetting every time I look away from it.
Yeah.
Damn, look at that thing.
Look at it.
It's already glaring. Look at it. It's glaring at us right there.
Yeah. So that's
This is a
you.
good
That's you.
Pokemon.
It's a good one. I think I it's at the very least aspirational. You know. I
Yeah.
think this is, you know.
Honestly, I
here we
identify
go.
with all these.
Yeah, I think they're different versions of you. You know what I mean? Different elements of Rob. This person or this site, What Culture, says that it's drawing on the children of Loki and Angrboda. I don't know how to pronounce this character. I apologize. There's a character here. Anyway. Because there's 3 forms, each representing a different child, Zygarde draws obvious parallels to each of the Norse shapeshifter's offspring. 10% form can be based on... God, you're just going to give me things I don't know how to fucking pronounce, aren't you? You're just going to... Here we go. This is another word for Fenrir. Okay, sure.
Fenrir.
I can say Fenrir. Loki's giant wolf son, who made a snack out of
okay.
Tyr's right hand. The monster is seen rocking green leash, much like Gleipnir, the ropes that bound Fenrir. Zygarde's 50% form takes on a snake-like appearance, not unlike Loki's second child, Jormungandr, and then its final, most powerful form transforms into a humanoid robot, like Loki's child. Reminiscent of Loki's daughter, Hel, who appropriately guards the realm of the dead, aka Helheim. Sure.
Cool.
Love it. Zygarde.
Zygarde.
I
don't know if it's...
It probably doesn't say that,
I don't
does
think
it?
so.
It probably depends on what form it's in.
Right. That's true.
Right? So...
But I told
Zygarde.
that mecha one talks. There's one of them talking
Zygarde.
Pokemons.
Oh wait, like talks like the way like
like a fucking
like
the
Mewtwo
Meowth
does.
and Mewtwo and
like Meowth.
Lucario.
Yeah,
I
Meowth
think
does that
sometimes
too.
talks depending.
Yeah, I could see that. Zygarde. Anyway, on that note, continue to let us know which Pokemon we are. I just want to say the one for Patrick is very funny in this, so I'm waiting for Patrick to come back and we can drop that one.
Great. Going back to the Christmas thing, I actually had a small follow up and question. Did your parents ever do things like that where they
once or twice
trick you? Because
yeah,
my parents definitely did that once in like probably the cruelest way possible.
Cruelest.
Well, just like a lot of these are like you're sad for like a minute, right? Or like you're sad for like until you realize what happened. My family tended to, and still does off and on, get together as a big group with our extended family, lots of aunts. So it was like, 30, 40 people in a house. And we would all get together and everyone would do gifts together at midnight. And so one year, I believe this was the year I got my N64. We did that, and obviously I wanted it. I didn't get it. We stay the night. Next day, we head back home. We head back home, and when we get home, there's gifts under the tree. And that's where it was. But it was a full night of just like, I didn't get it this year. It's not happening.
Yeah.
That's
a big swing.
Yeah, a whole night of like, it's like, I guess Santa came by our house instead to drop these off while we were gone. And it's like, looking back on it now, it's just like, wow, that is a long time to sit on the disappointment of.
I mean, it's also no time because you were going to play it until you were
as
home
a kid.
anyway.
Well, no. Yes. Here's the thing: we also stayed up till 3 a.m. It's a whole thing. You absolutely would have busted that shit open, plugged it in, had a great time with the cousins.
Sure.
I think partially they were a little worried that
it worse.
because it's an expensive electronic, they didn't want it to be in a room where someone might kick it on accident or some shit.
Yeah, sure,
which is possible. Sure. But I remember feeling like it was eons. I was just sad for forever, even though yes, it was only the sleep and then the 1 hour drive home from where we were in Miami, and then getting in and opening the door. It's
very funny.
I think that's the longest version that you could kind of do of that.
A long time ago, I wrote for The Escapist about the time my parents did something like this, but where basically they had laid out very clearly we were not going to get a new PC. And we were at that point a few years, we were still on a slow 486 chipset at a time when increasingly things were going past the 100 megahertz barrier. So like we were pretty far off in terms of memory, CPU.
Yeah.
The PC just couldn't hang anymore with anything that was coming out. And that was a bummer because I loved like PC gaming. That's what I was primarily interested in. And they'd been very clear that like, no, we don't have money for that. We don't have money for a gaming PC. And it became like a whole thing. And at one point I got just like really frustrated and I was like, hey, I think it was like my dad was trying to like get me, we were going through PC Gamer and he was like, look at all these cool games. And I was like, Dad, I can't run them. Like, I don't know what's the point of having this conversation? Like, none of these run. And I was like, honestly, I should just like cancel my subscription to this because like there's nothing here that is relevant to our PC. And at that point, like I got a really stern like dad voice lecture about entitlement, being getting moody and snotty about like not having a good enough PC. And I actually was pretty ashamed. I felt pretty shitty about like how I'd acted and what I'd said. And so like I completely abandoned the idea that there was going to be like I was just like, hey, we're stuck on a bad PC for the foreseeable future. Like we're talking like another year or two probably. And I had basically been cool with that. And so Christmas morning came around and I'd actually spent a few weeks being like, honestly, also back catalog games are great. Like this is the thing. I've always been this guy. I was like, really though, these EA collector's editions or EA classics with the boot disc that like frees up enough conventional memory. These games fucking rule. I don't need a new PC. I can just play, I can play Privateer some more. I can play these old war games.
Yeah.
This shit's great. And then after
that wasn't the one with Doom 2000 in it, right? Was that earlier EA pack?
Yeah, this is very old stuff. Like
okay.
EA Classics were basically them selling just the CDs of games made by studios they bought and killed. So it was like Syndicate, so Bullfrog games. Like you just buy a thin little sleeve with EA Classic in it, and then they're like, "Hey, if you can make this run, like go with God."
I had also had a Bullfrog. It had Theme Hospital in it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I was getting into all of this. And then like after we'd opened presents on Christmas, my mom was like, hey, there's something like downstairs, like for the kitchen that we got to bring up. So I was like, okay, let's go do it. And we get down there and it was an IBM Aptiva. It was a 200 megahertz like computer. Still not like cutting edge at that point, but like night and day from what we were on. It was like we had been like 2 years behind, 3 years behind, and now we were 3 months. We were basically current. It took me a long time to even recognize what I was seeing because like an Aptiva box, it was a white cardboard box, right, with an IBM logo. And so, like, it looked like such a part of the scenery of the shit that was strewn around the laundry room that I was like, okay, where's this thing? And my eyes completely skipped over the computer in the middle of the room. I was like, I'm looking for an appliance. And then I'm like, wait. And I was stunned. They got the whole big reaction, like, no way, it's a new PC. But the weird thing is, and this is me, I was almost, on some level, I was a little sad that I'd gotten the PC because I was like, I had made myself okay with this. And I think my dad had a point. And so I was like, I felt on some level like I was being rewarded for shitty behavior. And so it was this weird thing of like, I was really happy to get it. It was really exciting. But also there's this part of me, it's like, I don't know that my relationship with this shit is good.
Yeah.
And I don't know that my dad didn't have a point. Now, of course, the, distance of years, I'm also kind of like, At the same time, my parents played the "we don't have money for stuff" card all the time. And when they were using it as sort of a smoke screen, it made it hard. It sort of fed into a broader sense of anxiety about, like, is our family, like, do we have money or not? And the answer was no, but we had credit and debt.
Yeah, I'm sure.
And so, like, I look back on all this stuff where it's like, oh, yeah, okay. So I was correct to not be certain about, like, what can we afford, what can't we? I was right. But it does like scan as weird now, where it's like, oh, this time we were using it as a fun sort of like distraction from the secret, like, nice Christmas gift. But other times it's like, there's no money for college, and that is 100% the truth.
Right. And the more important thing in this moment, right? Yeah. Wild. Yeah. It can be really hard to tell what the situation is sometimes as a kid, because I think, things were always touch and go for me as a kid in terms of money, but I think my parents both really wanted me to not have to stress about that.
Right.
So did mine.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think the thing they underestimated was I could intuit.
Yeah, you can always, kids are not. Yes.
Yeah, and so it was like there was kind of I think when I think back on it, there's a part of me that's like, you know what? I wish I could go back and be like, you know what? You should just fucking level with me. What's the actual score here? Because I can tell there's some stuff happening in the background, and there's some weird lifestyle changes that don't entirely make sense without some key information that you're telling me I don't need to worry about.
Yeah. Right. It's tough. It's tough because I get the desire to not want, because it's not, you can't do anything about it as a kid. Do you know what I mean? I mean, again, the thing is that, like, the thing you can do is not complain about not having toys or whatever,
right?
And do your best to, like, understand that comes second to, like, keeping the lights on, you know. But yeah, I don't know. I get the impulse not to put that on a kid, even if I also get the impulse of, like, or even though I remember being like, I can tell that shit is tight right now, you know. Anyway, that's childhood, baby. We're gonna wrap this up now, and we'll be back next week with some more stuff. I hope people have a good weekend. Is there anything on the site people should go read, Rob? Anything you want to point people to over on waypoint.vice.com?
We talked about the Hell Let Loose stuff. The Motherboard Gang has been doing some good coverage of like another ongoing story with an Activision product, Warzone, just continually being overrun with cheaters, and this sort of hit game kind of being its community being sort of besieged by the increasing sense that, like, it's harder and harder to find a straight game.
Yeah, right.
And man, that is death to a community. When people, I mean, you will never convince me this wasn't a major part of, like, why PUBG lost momentum. There were so many people who were starting to feel like, hey, this game's not on the level.
Right.
Like, I'm doing my thing here, and I'm seeing, like, kill cam replays, and I'm like, I don't think people are this good, and I don't think they can anticipate shit this well.
Right. Yeah. So yeah, go check those stories out. You can always follow us, twitter.com/waypoint, waypoint.vice.com, Waypoint Plus to support everything we do here. Twitch.tv/waypoint. We're going to probably try to do some sort of stream. I think we're going to try to do a stream today, Friday. I don't know.
Yeah.
If it's going to be Hell Let Loose or something else, but look forward to that. and then we'll be back next week with more stuff. So look forward to that. Follow me on Twitter at Austin_Walker. Where can people follow you, Rob?
At Rob Zachney.
Cado.
At A_Cado_appears.
He was always the bow and flooding us. Use the track Miss You off the EP Pal Machine. Find out more about that. Waypoint.zone/BOEN. Until next time, fuck capitalism. Go home. Peace. Stay hydrated. It's hot. Drink water.